Welcome everybody. So I'm going to wander around, sorry I'm a bit of an ad-libber. So the tools and resources for planning and planting is my topic for you today, and I've got a few bits for show and tell, and they're all available is what I want to get to you across for you all, that you can find all of these tools and use them yourselves. So in any planting there's a whole realm of questions that are asked at any given time, and I tell you, for the 400,000 ACT residents, every one of them will have their own opinion on the answer for those questions. So even the little ones, you ask them, they'll have an idea of what they think is. So when making decisions on what tree to plant, it's really, there's a whole lot of impacts that go into that decision-making process. So I'm going to work through a few of those questions and where you can find some answers. So the first one we've got, as has been mentioned before, is the Municipal Infrastructure Standards. Now it has just been updated, but I can not stress enough that it is an eternal, that's a tricky word, eternal work in progress. So it will never be finished because we always know more. You've all come along today because you know a bit and you're prepared to learn more, and I know I've learnt things today already. I'm blown over by the amount of knowledge in the room. But there's always more to learn and more conversations to have and more information to be put into these tools. ACT has been so wonderful in the information that you provided, and it's so great to hear that it's being used by Redbox, and I love that. So the document itself and the fact sheets that accompany it that give more information in detail about each tree species. But within the MIS, the information we got most recently, go back, I knew that was going to happen, is the flowering and the nectar, pollen, fruit and the forager to give that information for the species, along with all the other information that's provided. And the other one we've just added is some nanocultural notes, which really gives that background of how the species have been used in the past and how you could incorporate them into your local designs. So within that, a little bit more, a bit easier to read, because it is, I've printed it out for you today. I can't read it without my glasses. So I do encourage, it is more of a web tool because they've tried to pack so much information in, it's a little bit small. So some of the information that's you can find there is information about the species in terms of its look, feel, the colour of the flowers, who might want to visit those flowers. And some important notes, because in terms of that circle of questions you ask, there is no perfect tree. Every tree has special considerations that you need to think about in terms of its suitability to the site that you have. So you can't stick any old tree in any location, because there's always either an impact on the tree because of the location, or in Canberra in general, as you've mentioned, it's hot, it's cold, it's dry, it's a really tricky place to grow trees. So the trees in the book are things that we know will grow here, but it's just the start. It's a living beast. It will always have new species coming and going, particularly the shrubs, because there's a lot of work that needs to go on there. So great tool. And from that, we've been able to make a new tool that will soon be out and about, which is focusing just on the flowering times and the forages. So it's a nice easy tool where you can have a flick through and you can easily see where, how can I plant a range of species that provides that, that nutrients for the bees, birds and other insects and animals in a year-round banquet. So it's a great resource, and thank you so much, Julie, and everyone. I'm not sure who are all the people that worked on that tool, but it's just so great to have that information coming to us. So. And the one that I keep talking about, and we've not managed to realise this tool, but it's still coming, and I keep talking about it because it will come. Unfortunately, the COVID year that has put some things on the back burner because other things had to be done. But a Canberra tree selector, so anyone can go to the website, log in the kind of site they have, and have some suggestions pop up, and from those they can then access the fact sheets that we have. So it will come. Hold that thought, that's our next beast. One we are really proud to have just got out is a benefits of trees And again, I'm talking to the converter here, you all know trees are fantastic things, but this makes it really clear for all those other 400,000 residents who don't necessarily understand how important trees are. They do add value to your site in terms of all of these different ways, economically, socially and environmentally. The birds and the bees do get a mention in there. They're talking about how important they are for them. So that's also available on the City Services website. Beautiful tool that really brings home in an educational tool for all of our community. And then in a lower level, in their letterbox, whenever we plant a tree, we provide that information to residents to really encourage them not to then call us up and say, actually, no, I don't want it, because that does happen all too often. And it's a difficult conversation, and we do try and have those battles over the phone and convince them to have the tree, because we all know that if people don't like something, they may well, make it go away. So we really want to focus on acceptance of the trees that we're planting and that ongoing care, because we do water our trees for a further 5 years after planting, but that's not enough. We're only getting there once a month or so. We all know in the harsh summers we really need people to be helping us and appreciating their trees and treating it as part of their garden and helping it to grow. And it doesn't cost anything. You can put a bucket in your shower. We're not asking you to pay for the water. It's already there. So that's another little bit of information that we can give to people when we plant trees. Now, on the website, if people want a tree, they can tell us that. They're the best ones, because then we know the tree is going to be well looked after, because they've already asked us for it. So there's a couple of ways. You can go to the City Services website and either request through Fix My Street, or go onto our Your Say website, where people can drop a pin. And that's a lot easier and a lot quicker and not so much communication involved. They just say, oh, yeah, I want a tree there. So put a tree there. Now, not every time are we going to be able to realise that tree being planted, because there, as I said, when you look at planting a tree, you need to understand how the environment will affect the tree, and the tree in fact affects the environment. So we really hope, but that's why we have such a range of species to pick from. So hopefully there is the right tree for the right location, and we can put something there. And we really are looking also at that whole environment for trees, trying to get more of that mid-story that's so important into the environment, looking at our remnant trees and planting more of that understory around them to reduce the need for weed spraying or all of those things that affect those trees, and bringing the insects in. So as I said, we started with all of those questions, and for us as land managers, there's a whole range of questions that we have to answer whenever we're planting, and to make sure we're planting the right tree in the right place and focusing on the tree planting in the places that need it the most. So we're looking at, well, what is the canopy we currently have? Where do we need to be planting to increase that canopy and make it as equitable as possible, a canopy across the ACT? Now, we know we're not going to get the same percentage of canopy in every suburb because of the design, and we're so grateful that there's been such amazing design out here in Ginninderry. But that's, we work with what we've got, and we're trying to get that canopy up across the city. We look at where the heat issues are. So where do we have large section? And it's very interesting. I know that we like to see trees near roads as well, and the trees extend the life of the road, because the bitumen will last longer when it's shaded. If it's under hot, dry conditions, it will deteriorate. We have to replace the roads more often. But we also have to deal with the truck drivers that hit the trees as they're driving past and want us to prune them up, and the leaves down the drains. I was involved in the recent studies on how to increase knowledge about the effect of leaves down the drains. And it is an important consideration, but there's the thing, every decision to plant a tree involves so many considerations. And we're also looking at where the vulnerable people are. So who are the people we need to look after in providing shaded walkways to get to schools, to shops, to increase shading for their homes so they don't have to, so they're living in cooler environments in the summer. So all of those things come into our considerations as well. You can see it's getting really, really complicated now. So this is part of our tools that we have in our ArcGIS system. So we know what we've planted when, where we've planted it, and we can, this is a little cute little sliding scale. We can slide across and focus on a small part, so we can see in more detail as a tool for us to see where we're planting, what we're planting, when we've planted it. The species mix, which I know Cormac talked about as well. We know that we need a good variety of trees, and it's really interesting to see the variety that we have in certain suburbs, and that's great knowledge to have. But for us, so we're also looking at single species numbers. So we know we have more monifers than any other species in the ACT. So we're trying to adjust that and make changes where we can. The ACT as a design city gives us extra challenges to work with in that there are many streets that are single species streets. There's also many, over many years, that have been mixed species. There's the wonderful Trees and Shrubs in Canberra written by my very beloved lecturer from university, John Banks, and the wonderful Lindsay Pryor, that listed all those street trees up to 2001. And we're trying to develop a database where it's more accessible so you can look and see what tree species you have and what's in the streets that you're looking at. As you walk around, you could look it up and go, oh, that's what that one is. So there's more knowledge, more tools to come. It's a never-ending process. So, we can really look from that and we can drill down and, we know these are all the trees that have been planted. Oh, didn't touch it. In the ACT. How do I get out of that one? I'll just touch it somewhere else, that's good. So we can delve down, really look into what we planted this year, last year, what's currently still in a watering program, what has failed and we need to replace. So it's an amazing tool that we have these days to work with. And we know how we should plant. So we've really looked, as you spoke, it's really important. Preparation is everything. How you plant the tree to give it the best chance of success. And there's a lot of work that needs to happen on that from developers, particularly in their hard stand areas. We know that what happens on under the ground is the most important, and but it does often seem to be the thing that drops off the list first. If we run out of money, no one's going to see that. The tree looks great for the first couple of years, no one will. That drops off. I'm sure you haven't done anything like that. But it's really, really important for a long, there's no point planting a tree in a car park that's never going to grow. And we're really looking now, we've got a Jamison car park pilot plan that's coming on where we're looking at different car park design, because I tell you, planting trees on compacted gravel raised islands is not the way, and it seems to be this thing we've done forever and they've never worked. So we need to change the way we do things. So that's happening and that's exciting too. So the most exciting announcement we've got is the recent release of the Urban Forest Strategy. A lot of people worked really hard on that document. We talked to lots of people, and we really hope that it's got everything in it that everyone wanted to have in it. But it's a guideline. It's our vision for the next 25 years of what we need to do. So a lot of the things that it talks about are a bigger scale. We need to have conservation corridors. How we do that is now the conversations that we're going to have and work with all of the people that can give us that knowledge and really let us accomplish those goals that we all agree are important to get them done on the ground. So that's the most exciting tool that we've got out now. There's bound to be many other things that I haven't covered today, but they're the ones that we wanted to discuss with them. Make sure you know, because I was just talking with Marty earlier that we get asked all the time. Everyone, as soon as someone knows you're in the tree business, what should I plant? Well, what are you planting it for, and whom are you planting it for, and why are you planting it, and where are you planting it? I mean, there's any number of of questions that are involved. So that's the who, what, when, where, why of the trees. And thank you very much.